Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, The Small Business Digital Marketing Strategy, hosted by Brighton Economic Development and the Brighton Chamber of Commerce in partnership with North Metro Small Business Development Center. My name is John Hovey. I'm a Special Projects Coordinator with North Metro SBDC, and I'm here today with Peter Brissett. He's the Digital Marketing Dude and CEO. I'm really excited to have you back here today, Peter, and we're going to be talking about how to create a digital marketing strategy for your small business, as well as some specific tools and tips regarding your website, Google My Business, social media, everything in this sort of category, which is more important than ever as we're navigating the holiday season and this COVID economic crisis. I want to say a special thank you to the Brighton Chamber of Commerce and their new director, Lynn Kensinger, and also to Patrick Giron with Brighton Economic Development, both for your encouragement and your support in producing today's presentation. Thank you very much. And of course, thank you to you in the audience for attending now, giving your time. I'd like to encourage everyone in the audience to take a moment right now, if you could find the chat feature of this GoToWebinar. If you're on a computer, it's going to be on the right side of your screen. If you're on a mobile device like a phone, it'll be down at the bottom. But if you wouldn't mind just putting your business name in the chat, and also what type of business you are, whether you're a restaurant, retail, or some service, please let us know. That'll help us to tailor the presentation a little bit so we know what's what your needs are. So please do that. You'll also see in that panel a question feature, and you can type in your questions at any point during the presentation. What we'll do is we'll make an effort to stop periodically and address those questions, and then we'll leave some time at the end for question and answer as well. Finally, we are recording this session, and I'll make that video available to you a little bit later. I'll send you an email follow-up with a video link, and you can also find this video on the Brighton website. So that's all the housekeeping I have. I'm going to turn it over to you, Peter, and let's talk about small business digital marketing.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, John, for hosting us today. And yeah, folks, jump in there, and if you don't mind, just type in the chat the type of business that you are. If you're a restaurant, a plumber, whatever it is, put that in there, and as we go, we'll try to adapt the presentation to what you guys need. And of course, we want your questions and look forward to the questions that you have so that we can address those for you and really provide you something that's going to be useful and helpful to you. A lot of times we get on these webinars, it's like, great, I was on a webinar and I listened to some stuff. But it doesn't really matter unless you implement it and do it. So the more you interact with us, the better off it's going to be for you, and we'll be able to get you the things that you need. So let me share my screen here and make sure it's sharing the right screen. I think we're good. I got to move you out of the way, John. You're in my way here. There. All right. So this kind of comes from my online marketing blueprint. I put this together over the last 10 years of doing marketing consulting, the last 5 or 6 specifically with the SBDC, and kind of put together what the most frequently asked questions were. What were people asking me about marketing, and what were the kind of the key things that were really the most important that they needed to know. So that's really where this came from, and it really built around these 8 categories. So today what we're going to focus on is the strategy piece. We're going to talk about social media, and if we get to it, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about your website as well. But the first thing I really want to talk about is the assets that you own versus the assets that you rent when it comes to your digital marketing. I used to say there was 2 things. Now I say there's 3 things that you own. You own your brand, and that's where strategy really becomes really important, because that is the one thing that you own the most, and that's who you are and how you do business. We'll dig into that in the strategy piece of that in terms of how you build your branding. So it's not just your logo and your colors and all of that, which is important, but it's also your messaging and the actual problems that you solve and the services that you offer. So you own that. You have complete control over that. You can change and adjust that and make that work for you at any point in time. No one dictates that to you. The second thing that you own is your actual marketing list. Like, who are the people that you can market to? So your email list, your database, your social media followers to a degree, but they should be converted over to your email list as well. So you own that. That's your database. And then the third thing that you actually own and have full control of when it comes to digital marketing is your website, which is why I emphasize investing in your website in any way that you possibly can. So that's kind of the key there in terms of what you own versus what you rent. And social media is a little bit more of a rented space for businesses. So we'll talk more about that. So let's get into the strategy piece first. I kind of go by the 4 Ps, which is a little bit different in this than what you probably have normally heard in terms of the 4 Ps of marketing. So there's the product and the price and kind of your standard 4 Ps and your typical marketing. So what we start with is people. Who is your target market? Who is it that you're actually going after? If you have a very broad, oh, this is good for everybody, well, that's really difficult to actually market something that's good for everybody. Better to be able to build a persona. So a persona is, who is this person? How old are they? Where do they live? So it's a biographical picture of them in terms of age, location, and just a picture of that person. So are they married? What's their income levels? All of that. But then it's also a psychological picture, like a psychographical. What are they worried about? What are their struggles in the rest of their life? And then how is what you're providing them able to help them even overcome some of those challenges? So the better idea you have of who this person is, it really tells you what you need to do in your messaging and in how you speak to them, in how you do your content, how you interact on social media. All of that's going to be driven by who your target market is. So you really have to drill down on that. And you probably have it already within your database. So if you've been in business for any time at all, you've been able to see who your current clients are and really address several things like, who are they? Where are they? And even to the point of, who do I really like working with? Like, who are my favorite clients and why are they my favorite clients? And digging in and asking some of those questions to really get a better picture, a better idea of who your ideal client is and exactly where they are and how you can work with them. So the other category we talk about is audiences. So if you're going to do any social media marketing, there's a whole category of targeting ads that's around audiences. So again, the more information that you have about your target market, the better you're going to be able to actually send and position your ads to the right exact market. And there's side things that become important, like what TV shows do they like to watch? What books do they like to read? What magazines do they read? What kind of music do they listen to? What are their favorite activities that they enjoy doing? So those side things become important pieces as a part of building that persona in who you're going to target and go after. So important to ask questions about the people and your target market. The second P is problem. What is the actual problem that you solve for your clients? So you have to really think about that. What is the problem I'm solving? So I may provide a product or a service, but what's the underlying issue, the underlying problem that this product or service solves? And then you can begin to build out your content and your ideas around what are the benefits of solving this problem? And why should I solve this problem now? And what are the risks of not solving this now? What's at stake if I don't take action and do something about this problem right now? The more you have clarity on this, the easier it's going to be for you to market to those folks and get them to convert, to get them to move to being a client and being a customer. Because there's a lot of different ways people can solve a particular problem. Sometimes that's with your direct competition. Sometimes that's maybe trying to do it themselves. You know, there are kind of side competition that we don't necessarily always look at as competition. And for some folks, maybe I just don't even want to solve this problem right now. Like, why bother? It's just too hard, maybe. Or I don't have enough information. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So whatever the problem is, the better you understand it, the better you can describe it, and the better you can communicate to your audience of the benefits of solving it and the risks of not solving it now, the better you're going to be able to communicate with your prospects and move them quicker to becoming customers. The next steps here, I want to make sure I cover some of my notes, is the process. So what is your particular process for how you solve that problem? Now, I'm not saying that you should tell your prospects, here's everything that we do. You don't necessarily have to do that. What they want to know is what's the result you're going to get for them. So I may go by a drill, but did I really want a drill or did I want a hole? I really want a hole. I don't want a drill. So don't sell them the drill, sell them the hole, sell them the benefit and the end solution that they're going to get. What's the result they're going to get after working with you and you've solved this problem for them? So where your business really comes out unique and different, even if you're in the same field as a plumber or electrician or whatever it is, how do you do it just a little bit differently? What are some things that you have that your competition doesn't have? And it doesn't have to be dramatic and it doesn't have to be huge, but it should be different. And how do you add that uniqueness to your business? The way to get to more unique, even if everything about your business is exactly the same as every other plumber out there. I'm stuck on plumbers today. For every plumber that's out there, then why don't you just offer a guarantee? A lot of businesses don't offer any kind of guarantee. But if you wanted to just go, hey, look, let me take away some of the risk of doing business with me, even though I may look exactly the same as everybody else, and then which gives you another problem. If you look like everybody else, then the only decision I can make is based on price. If everything is the same between you and your competition, my decision is based on, well, which one is going to give me the better deal. But most people want the better value. And if you can offer some type of guarantee that says, we guarantee you're going to get this result, or you're going to get your money back, or whatever it is that you're going to offer them in your guarantee, then you can have an edge over your competition and even charge a higher price because you're offering a greater value to your customers and clients. And then the next category kind of goes into that passion and personality piece. So this gets a little bit into why you do what you do. So Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Great book to read to get some ideas there. And he really talks about people don't really get you or get your business until they understand why you do it. So why do you do what you do? Is that something you're communicating to your customers? Can definitely add a flavor that most businesses aren't going to get into. So you could do it via personality. It could just be, here's the passions, here's the things that we really care about. Here are our values. These are the values that we operate with, and being able to share those. And of course, stories about your business and how you do things and how you interact with the community. These become extra level things that really help set you apart from your competition, because most businesses don't take the time to do that. And of course, personality, you can build on celebrity a little bit. So, you know, here in the Denver local market, if you look at American Furniture Warehouse and Jake Jabs, so he's kind of the celebrity, or Deal and Doug, or any one of those that we see here around town. You don't have to do that, but you can see how in those particular businesses, it's helped create really strong branding for them by using that as a part of their overall strategy of how they get customers and clients. So that in a nutshell is the strategy piece between people, problem, process, and passion. We've got some questions here. So in that handout that John put in are some additional questions that you can ask to kind of get a better evaluation of who is your ideal clients, the problems you solve, and then a couple other categories where we talk about proof, position, possibilities. I like P words, so there you go. You can check that out. All right.
Nice. And I'm not sure, Peter, if I mentioned at the beginning about that handout, so I'll just chime in about that real quick. You do have the ability in your GoToWebinar platform there, folks, to see a section called Handouts. And if you click the link, it will take you to a downloadable PDF that has these slides that Peter is mentioning. I'll also make sure to email those to you. So if you're on the road or something, don't worry. I'll make sure that you get this handout. And thank you for everyone who texted in your business name. Don't forget, you can ask questions at any point, and we'll try to answer those as we go. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's get into the social media piece. So again, like I already mentioned, social media really is a rented space that you have. This is space that you rent. You don't own this. Someone else is making the rules on these platforms on how you can engage and what you can do. So you always want to keep that in mind when you're working with these platforms. And you can think of social media really as the delivery system for your strategy, for your branding, for your marketing, for your communication. It's a delivery system for you to communicate and engage with your prospects and your customers out on these social media channels. So what you have to think about in terms of social media is your content. And we've got a whole slide if you look at the PDF around content and how to build content, what to do with the content. So take a look at that. You get some good ideas around the content piece of it. So you should have a combination of your original content that you've created, and the easiest thing to do is to make video, and then also curated content. So content that supports your messaging, that supports your target market, and that's content from other places that you're also sharing, that you're commenting on, that you're making statements about other contents. And that could even be from a contrary standpoint. So maybe you saw an article that you actually don't agree with. That could be a good piece of content that you share where you say, hey, some people are saying this is a good way to solve this particular problem that we solve, but I actually don't think this is the best way to do it. Here's why. So you can provide some contrary viewpoints on certain curated content, which then makes it a little more original. One thing that people can do is, and really need to think about, is how do I create something fun and engaging on social? So when I'm on social, it's more like I'm at the coffee shop, I'm relaxing. So it's a little more difficult to try to do some direct marketing to someone who's just hanging out. They're casual, right? It's a social media platform. But one way to do that is with contests. So come up with some great idea around a contest that is going to engage your audience, that kind of helps promote your brand and your products. So it could be a contest where if you have a product that you sell, maybe you give away a free sample. But so many people have to comment or like the post, and then you'll pick a winner. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Maybe you do a photo contest, have people take pictures using your product, or make a video using your product. And if they do that, they're gonna be entered into a drawing for a prize. Just find some creative way to create a contest that's gonna engage people and get them more involved in your social, because that's really where you expand your social media presence, is by allowing people to engage with it more, because it winds up being shared throughout their profiles and to their connections that they have. It gives that a little bit of a viral sense to the things that you're doing. The other thing you have to think about is your calendar and the frequency. So do you have a calendar of regularly posting? So a lot of people go, well, how often should I post? And how, what's like, I post once a day, that seems like too much. Well, depending on the platform, once a day might not be nearly enough. Like you might need to post 3 times a day. It really depends on your target market. Go back to strategy. Who's your target market? What's the problem you solve? And how critical is that? And that kind of helps dictate your frequency. So have some kind of plan, and there's lots of ways you can do it. You see a lot of folks out there that kind of have a theme for every day of the week. You could do, I've done a Monday marketing mint, or Thursday throwbacks, Friday funnies, like whatever. Come up with some ideas for the themes of the day. I've seen whiteboard Wednesdays, where someone does some whiteboard video, where they're writing things out on a whiteboard. So whatever it is, come up with some themes that you can do, so it makes it easier for you to come up with the type of content. And again, look at your strategy of who's my target market, what's going to engage them, and what can we use there. The other thing that I do is kind of a formula to help you decide how much you need to do that. So a big key obviously is consistency. Being consistent in whatever you decide you're going to do. So if you decide I'm posting once a day, Monday through Friday, then stick to that. Do that all the time. If you say you're going to post every Tuesday, you're going to go live on every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, then go live every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Be consistent in whatever you decide that you're going to do. Again, that helps build your brand, and your consistency helps emphasize who you are and your reliability even as a business. But the formula I like to use is called RFP, which is recency, frequency, and proximity. So I think a little bit of it like dating. So if I ask someone out on a date and we're having a great time on our first date, having dinner, sitting outside, maybe wearing masks, so it could be a great date, but if I said to my date, hey, let's get married, the answer would probably be no. And if she said yes, then I should definitely be worried. But the answer is probably no on a first date. Why is that? Well, while it was recent, it's just happening now, it hasn't been frequent. And you need both of those things to create that. So you need recency and you need some frequency. So how recent do I need to be, and how frequent do I need to be to create proximity? So how can I, through social media and through my content and through my email marketing, how do I create a situation where I begin to create proximity, which is some level of closeness? I would like to think of it as a hug, even though hugs are not acceptable right now during a pandemic, but a virtual hug, okay? It's a virtual hug. It's totally safe to do a virtual hug. So how recent do I need to be, and how frequent do I need to be in order to create that kind of proximity and that closeness that helps my prospects move closer to becoming customers, or that helps my customers remember who I am, so they're referring me to their friends and family, or they're coming back to do business with me again, whatever the case might be there. So just some tips there in terms of delivery system and how frequent you need to be in terms of posting and working with your content on social media platforms. So what are the sites, right? Again, who's your target market? Where are they? Facebook. I've actually listed Instagram here as a tier 2 site. I don't really believe that necessarily when it comes to your target market. Your target market may be ideal on Instagram. So in that case, it's totally a tier 1 kind of site. So Facebook owns Instagram. They're very closely connected. It's pretty easy to do marketing on both those channels kind of at the same time, because you can connect those together. But my recommendation is, if you're still figuring that out, you really are not got it nailed down, pick one that fits your ideal client the best, and just focus on that one social media site. You don't need to be on every platform doing everything, but you should focus on a couple that are really going to reach your audience that you need to get good at. Like, you need to become better at working on that side and making those sites work for you, because it does take some work. So Facebook, of course, again, if your market's there, your Facebook page, you're probably gonna have to spend some money on ads to boost posts. Just because you post something on your Facebook page doesn't mean it's going to get seen by everybody who's liked your page. And it's important to note, there really is a big difference, and I find this oftentimes between your personal profile and your Facebook business page. These are two very different things. Your profile is something you log into. Your Facebook page is something that you go to. Like, you go to that page and you're an administrator of that page. And you can add other administrators of that page to help you market that page. And one thing you can do on Facebook that a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually use Facebook as your business page and interact with other things. So we'll do this for some clients where we'll actually take and manage their Facebook page, and let's say it's a restaurant. I can go as that restaurant and look for news and information that's in the community. So let's say it's in the city of Brighton. There's a restaurant, and they can go out as the restaurant and comment on the Chamber of Commerce's Facebook page. They can comment on things going on in Adams County. They can comment on other activities and events that are happening as the restaurant. So it's a very organic way of building followers to your Facebook page, so people can actually see how your business is interacting socially on Facebook. And it's a thing that most businesses miss out on there in doing that. LinkedIn definitely is a B2B type site. So if you're a B2B, business to business, then LinkedIn's a place that you want to be. You want to build out your profiles there on all these sites. Make sure your profile is complete, that it's updated, that it's got all your branding on them, so at least the basics are set up there. Again, Twitter is a little bit different. Depending on your market, it might be a great marketing platform. Again, to reach your audience, you're probably going to have to spend a little money on ads, which you can do on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. But for certain segments, it actually is a good platform for that. And of course, Instagram is really much more about visually, pictures, images, stories, video. All these platforms really are geared for video right now, and really for live video. The more you can integrate doing live video on the social platforms, the better. They're all doing it. That's what they want. It's the content that they will push out the most and get you the most views and the most interaction is by doing live video. So definitely take some time and look into that. Of course, there's a lot of other sites that you can look at as well. A couple of tools that you can use in terms of helping you schedule your content, so you can schedule your content all at one time, so you're not going out there every single day to post that. Hootsuite's a great tool for that. It's still awesome for using. We still use it. Buffer is another one. There's another application called Sendable. There's some other ones out there as well. There's a lot of them, but these are a couple that I would recommend. All right, that's the social media piece. Questions on that, John, that we want to tackle?
There is one question.
Okay.
Well, two now. I'm gonna make this one anonymous just to protect everyone. But this person says, my local chamber, who shall remain nameless, doesn't know how to use Instagram. For example, when they try to tag the businesses they're promoting, they don't actually tag the businesses, or they'll put links in the description that no one can click on. So I've been hesitant to join. What do you think?
Interesting. Well, so there's two questions there. Hesitant to join the chamber because of that. Well, that's a good point, right? So how we use the platforms is a way we're communicating our brand. I would reach out and just say, I would let them know. And if we can circle back on that, John, maybe we can help out with that or something. But I would not hesitate to chamber because of that. Chambers are really important to our local businesses and our communities. So I wouldn't make that my criteria, but yeah, let's get them some feedback.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with this person who's asked this question. I want to keep keep them safe here. But absolutely. I agree with Peter. We love the chambers, and you should absolutely join the chamber. And I think that is important feedback to share.
Yep.
And certainly with a little bit of education, whoever is the social media manager could do a little bit better job on Instagram. There's one more question here. It says, this is Nathan. He says, hello. Hi, Nathan.
Hi.
I'm from My Office, etc. My Office, etc., which is an office supply company. Great. What would you suggest for live video there?
Good question. So what I would start with is what are the common problems in an office environment that some of the products you have fix and solve and make easier. So it could be some how-to type stuff that you do. It could be a very specific product that solves a problem, but does an office need to be better organized? Absolutely. Does an office need better tools and equipment to run the office better? Absolutely. So what are some of the common problems that office spaces have, and start with that. I would also look at, I didn't mention this because we didn't really dig into the content piece that much, but I always like to start with what are the frequently asked questions? What are the most common questions that you get about your product or service, and address those. Make those part of your live videos. And then also another category is should ask questions. What are the questions that you wish your customers were asking you that you provide solutions for, and include those should ask questions as well. So those are a couple places that you can look at and start with. But again, it's always problem solution. What's the problem that you can solve? And here's a way to solve it.
Nice. A couple more for you, Peter. Hannah asks, I've heard it is a best practice not to schedule posts to go out to all your social channels at once. Can you explain why this isn't a good idea?
I would say I have no idea why that would be a bad idea. There's been different times with some of these tools that we use to schedule content that there's kind of been, it's kind of one of the myths that come up in some of the social media marketing where, oh, because you scheduled a tool scheduled that post instead of you going to that platform and scheduling it directly, then that platform is not giving as much, it's not showing that post as much. And I've heard people say that and try to go, well, look at this post and that post, and it's very sketchy data that I've ever seen that makes those claims. I've never seen real good data over hundreds and over thousands of posts that suggested there was any difference in how a particular post was going to be viewed on different social channels because you use some kind of tool to schedule those posts out. So again, this is about who is your audience, when are they engaging on your platform, and what's great about a lot of these tools is that they will actually look at your post over time and actually show you when people engage the most and what time they engage the most. So that's something you can start to look at. So maybe it's not best because your audience isn't as engaged to put them out at the same time. So again, look at strategy and look at results and adjust accordingly. But when you're just getting started and you don't have any data to go with, schedule it all at the same time, build some data, and then you can start making some actual decisions around that.
Great. Sam wants to know, should every business use every social media platform?
Please, no, don't. Every business should not use every platform. Again, pick one. If you really haven't figured it out, you're not really sure, how to get the most out of it, then just pick one and get really good at that one. And then you can start to expand from there. Again, it's about the strategy that we talked about. Who's your target market? Are they on the platform? Do they engage on this platform? That needs to be the biggest deciding factor on which platforms that you use and how you want to use it. So go back to your strategy, look at how you want to engage, how do you communicate better your problems, the problems your clients have, and your solutions, and develop your strategy around the specific platforms from that. Good question.
Right. Yeah. Sol would like to know, what is the best way to get people to start following a business?
The best way to do it is to ask. This kind of gets into the category, I'm going to talk about reviews a little bit. Kind of wasn't the highest on our agenda, but in particular for local business, your reviews are going to be super important. The number one way to get more reviews, ask. The number one way to get more followers, ask. We have to be asking. So what are the ways that we can ask? Can we send an email and ask people to follow us? Can we hand them a piece of paper that says, please follow us on these platforms? Can we send them a text message that says, follow us? So the best way to do it is to keep asking, to ask our best customers, our best clients to follow us on the social channels and do that. You can also, Facebook, as an example, you want to get more followers on your Facebook page, you can run an ad campaign that's specifically focused on getting more followers of the page. It's one way to do it, maybe not the best, but it is a way to do it. And then I kind of mentioned how you can organically use your Facebook page. That's a great way to get more followers. The more your page is engaged socially in your community, the more followers you're going to get. People are going to click that like button and follow your page. But you got to come up with lots of different ways to ask people to follow you.
All right, here comes a $64,000 question here from Jackie. Not great at computers and social media in general. New small business with no marketing budget yet. Where do you suggest going to learn Instagram and Facebook, as I think these are the best platforms for my business?
So I don't know if we can talk about this or not, but I would, we have the SBDC for a reason, and so you can meet with the consultant and dig into some of this stuff. But I think that's a good place to learn some things, right? In terms of Facebook and Instagram, a local gal that I follow that has really amazing content, absolutely for free. Of course, she has paid stuff and she's got some books. but it's Andrea Vahl, V-A-H-L. Maybe you can look up her website, John, and post that in the chat for folks.
I will.
But Andrea Vahl posts on her blog all the time about Facebook and Facebook marketing and Instagram and all that. So I highly recommend any of her content and information around that piece. So that would be my recommendation there to learn more. And that's good. You should learn more and understand it better long before you have a budget to hire somebody. Because at some point you can hire someone to do this, but I always think it's better that you have a little bit of, at least a little bit of an understanding of how it works and what your goals are and what you should be measuring. What is it you're trying to accomplish and how do you want to measure that? So.
Okay, couple more. These are great questions, by the way, folks. Thank you for writing in.
Really good, really good.
Is there a benefit to using the native scheduling options versus a scheduling app like Sprout Social?
Yep, good question. I kind of mentioned that before. I don't see any really significant difference from one to the other. Again, it's, you know, as long as it's the post is doing everything it should, right? The links work, the images work, the videos work the way they're supposed to. As long as everything is doing what it's supposed to do, then you know, I think it's good to use the tools, because the tools give you additional data that is not always easy to pull from, like your Facebook page, as an example. You can go and look at data, and you can look at individual posts and see how those posts are doing, which is good, which is great. But like I mentioned, some of these platforms like Sprout Social, they will actually combine that data together to give you an idea of when are your followers the most active and engaged, and in particular with your content. And that gives you an extra layer of data that really helps you in terms of how you can market on those platforms. So yeah, I don't think there's any significant difference using one versus the other that I've seen.
Armando wants to know, is there a way to target people who are engaged and who clicked the link on your post or ads on Facebook?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different ways. Again, this gets into how you build your audiences. Video is one of the best ways to do that, because you can actually create audiences based on how long they watched your video. You can also do it based on engagement. So how engaged did they like and comment on your content? So you can build out audiences that we would say are warmer, right? So if you're just going to a cold audience, they just saw one of your ads, they don't even know who you are, right? That's a cold audience that's seeing that. But an engaged audience, someone that's commenting, someone that's watching a video, you can actually segment those out in your audiences in the ads manager so that you can target more specific ads to those folks who are more engaged. So absolutely you can. And again, Andrea Vahl on her website, she has a lot of information about building audiences that would help you do that.
Nice. And I did put a link to her site, andreavahl.com, in the chat. We have more of a comment from Jody than a question.
Okay.
Jody says, find a teenager to help you. Daughter, granddaughter, niece, or nephew. Not a bad idea if you're just getting started.
Yeah, totally.
Kristen says, how much should a business pay someone to post on behalf of the business? Small business, only 2 to 3 independent contractors and no employees. My time is limited.
Yep. So again, what you have to do is go back to your strategy, and you have to really decide what are the results that you want to get. So what's the measurable outcomes that I want to have happen? And then determine from that, what's the value of that to the business? You know, how much is that going to help you in terms of, either getting repeat business or getting new clients. So how does that connect together? So you have a little better idea of what you're trying to accomplish with that. And then you can really go to somebody and say, all right, this is what I want to have happen. You know, how do we get this? How do we measure these results? It really can vary on what's being done. So it's about, you know, the content. Are they creating original content versus just posting? You know, someone that's just scheduling content that you're doing, that wouldn't cost that much to do. But if they're creating content, they're doing audience engagement, maybe they're running an ad campaign, that might be a different thing. So in a nutshell, in a general range, most social media managers are probably going to be in the 300 to 500 range per month. And again, it's going to vary on how many platforms and all of that. So it could be a lot more, it could be a little bit less, but somewhere in that range is usually where you wind up.
All right. Well, let's move on. Thank you for these questions, folks. Keep them coming, and we'll stop and look at some more questions in a little bit here.
Yep, good. Thanks, guys. All right, so let's talk about your website. So again, this is a property that you own. You have complete control of this. Some of the key factors, and I find this just working with a client on their website, a local sign company, and you know, the site's on WordPress, which is a very popular platform to build websites on. But the SSL, so SSL is making the site secure. It's encrypted. So it helps prevent the site from getting hacked and having other issues and your data getting shared out and stolen. So here's a local business with a website with no SSLs. The site's not secure. So super important to have some of that, the technical factors correct on your website. And it's really, it's not that hard to do. Again, if who you're working with is not delivering on that, this is too important a piece of your business not to have reliable people that you work with, in particular on your website. So if they're not responsive in helping you, I can find somebody who will. But the website has to be mobile responsive. I still come across so many websites, and I look at so many websites for local businesses that I can't really see very well on my phone. Now, I know I'm over 50, so I need reading glasses, but they're actually still, you know, challenging with being able to read a website many times on phone because they haven't optimized it for mobile. Why is that important? Well, one, it's important that I can read it on my phone, but it's also important because Google here, and it's been a while now, probably more than a year, actually changed the way that they index your website, which means when we say index, we're talking about how they put it into their search engine. So when someone's going to do a Google search, Google's indexing that based on how people are going to find it. They index it and give it priority based on, is it a mobile responsive website? Can people look at it easily on their mobile device? So Google's tools actually will look at your website and look at it from a mobile perspective and index it based on that. And if you don't have it set up where it looks great on mobile and it views properly on mobile, Google will actually penalize you. Like, you're not going to come up in search results as much as when you have that mobile responsiveness. Another factor is how fast the website loads. How fast do those pages actually load onto your device? So whether that's your desktop computer or your phone. That page speed is super important with how Google even looks at it. The SSL, the security, is hugely important. And remember the goal. So the goal I didn't mention at the beginning of this, I kind of skipped over that slide, is, you know, we want to get phone calls, right? We want to get customers. We want to have something happen with our website. So is the information on the website actually helping people move towards that? Do we make it confusing on what they should do? Part of the challenge we have on the website is that often we talk about way more about our business and not enough about who our prospect is. So that really goes back to our strategy and understanding who our target market is and making sure that our website is talking to them specifically and addressing their needs, and of course then offering our solutions that we have for them. And I like to follow the rule of 3 clicks. If I have to click more than 3 times to get to a piece of content and information, it's too many. People want information quickly. What's the most important information that people want about your product or service? Make sure that's super easy to get to right away. I shouldn't have to go very far to get that information. And then what's the most basic content that you need to make sure that you have? These are kind of the common pages that you see. You know, homepage, obviously, about page, contact, services, products. I talked about FAQs and SAQs, your frequently asked questions and should ask questions. Those should all be on there. Do you have a blog where you're posting new content? Again, why does Google want to send traffic to your website if you haven't posted anything new there, you know, in a couple years? That's not a fresh website. Google's not going to give it very much of a priority. And then use video. That's the biggest piece that I still see missing for websites is taking advantage of using video. So there's so many ways to create video now. Between I'm using Zoom or GoToMeeting like this, I can create a screen share like you're looking at right now. That could be a video I put on my homepage. I can use my cell phone to make a little video to at least talk a little bit about my business or talk about my services. So get video involved because it's going to be used everywhere throughout your website, your social channels, your content, and all that. Another piece that gets missed in terms of just basic SEO is how the page structure is set up. So this really has to do with some of what we call metadata. So your page has a title and a description. And the better that those are, the better it's going to show up in search results. So when I do a search in Google, what I see for your web page is the title of the page, and I see a description of the page. That title and description are kind of in the background. So all the different website platforms give you a place where you can put in the page title and the page description. And that's kind of a way for you to go, let me give you a little more detail about what this page is about. So when you see it in the search result, you want to click on it. You want to go to that page. So you really want to write descriptions that make people want to visit that page. There's some stuff also with site structure as well. And then the other thing that I like to do and talk about is what I call conversational SEO. So a lot of the content right now is based around questions because people are using Siri, they're using Google Assistant, they're using Alexa to ask full questions. So it's more of a conversation that's happening and being found. So that's where your FAQs and SAQs become super important for that. But also in terms of using video, I started a couple years ago doing my blog posts, and I would make a 5 to 7 minute video, and then I just get that transcribed. So when you have a video that you transcribe, the way that text is, it's much more conversational versus something that I wrote as a blog post. And Google really likes that conversational, more personal, more practical type of text. And then there's a couple of tools, Google Analytics, Google Console, that you can use to track progress. If you're not sure what to build on, you know, Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, build your site there to start with. you might want to get on WordPress at some point. Even GoDaddy's website builder has gotten a lot better over the years, and it's a pretty good platform to at least get started on for that. So that's a quick overshot of the websites. I want to be careful on time here, so do we have more questions we can tackle, or what do you want to do?
We sure do have a few. We can blast through some of these. I think you covered a little bit. John wants to know what impacts SEO the most.
I'm sorry, I lost the last part of that. Say that again.
What impacts SEO the most?
So there's a couple of factors. For local business, your reviews and your Google My Business page are super important, because long before I ever get to your website, that's the thing I'm going to see first. So if you have great reviews out on Google and your Google My Business page is updated and being used and you're posting content there as well, that's where you're going to be seen first in terms of a category search, if I'm searching for a plumber or a veterinarian or whatever. In terms of the website, it's kind of the combination of the, making sure that the website's fast, the SSL is in place, that your titles and your descriptions are all in place on the website. As long as that's in place, you at least have a solid foundation and something that you can build on from there to do that. But that's the thing I see the most that's missing. There's just not enough content on the website. It's not good content. Content really is a driving factor more than anything outside of the technical aspects of it. So.
All right. Sam wants to know, what is the best website builder to use? I know you mentioned Wix and Squarespace. Do you have one that you send people to, especially if they're just getting started?
Yeah, if you're just getting started, Squarespace is super easy to use. That's one out there. Actually, recently, I used to not like it at all, was the GoDaddy website builder. They've actually made a lot of improvements to it. It's actually not that bad. It's pretty good. So if you just need to get something up for now, I think either one of those are totally fine. WordPress is a whole different beast. A lot of people say, oh, WordPress is so easy. It's not. There's a lot of complications that can happen. I'm working with a client's website right now that, got infected. And so we're trying to clean it up, and you get malware and things like that, where these platforms like Squarespace and GoDaddy, you're not going to have those kind of problems and issues with it. So, yeah, I mean, you got to look at stages of where you're at. What can I afford to spend right now? Can I do it myself? Fine. That's all I can afford. Once you have some money and you can spend some money on your website, again, you own it. It's worth investing in. Then start looking at other options. Start talking to possible folks that can help you with it, because there's a lot of technical aspects that go into making sure that it even works for the search engines and for Google and all that. So
great.
That's what I'll say.
A lot of questions streaming in, and I see that it's noon. So let me just address that real quick and say to everyone, we are recording this. We will do our best to get some answers to these questions, and I will send out an email with a video link. And if we're not able to get to your question before we have to wrap up this webinar, then we'll answer those questions in the email as well. So, if you do need to drop off, then thank you for your attendance. And
yes.
You can find more information at Peter's site, dmdude.com, or at northmetrosbdc.com. And again, big thanks to Brighton for putting this on, both the Chamber and the Brighton Economic Development. Peter, do you have a few minutes to go through a few more questions? All right, this is great. Gretchen wants to know, what's your goal for page load speed? Obviously, fast is better than slow, but do you have a number?
There's a tool out there called GTmetrix, gtmetrix.com, which is a good tool for measuring that. And what it will do is give the page a score, and usually it's A, B, C, D, E, F for the page load speed. So you want an A if you're using that tool. And if there's things that aren't loading quickly, like sometimes your images aren't optimized, and it'll tell you that. You can also do a search for Google Page Speed tool, and Google has its own tool that will look at your page speed and give you a score. And obviously you want to try to score in the green, which is, it uses more of a number. So like in the 90% and above, just as a number, where GT Metrics will give you a score as a grade. But yeah, I mean, you want to be in the green on either one of those tools. So use those tools to check it and see where you're at. And obviously you want to do what you can to get into the green. It doesn't have to be 100%, but ideally if you can at least be in the 90s, it's the best. And then you know it's loading well on all different devices, and people are able to interact with it. So.
Excellent. Tammy wants to know, you've talked about hosting your website and the website builder. Do you have a recommendation of the best place to purchase a domain name from? Does that matter?
Well, here's what I would recommend on this. So I you know, again, working with clients over the years, there's been a lot of times where we've had to rescue websites because they weren't sure where, you know, the domain was or where the hosting was, and you know, they had a guy that set it up or whatever. So I highly recommend, just for ease of access, is buying domains on GoDaddy. The reason is that GoDaddy is such a big company, and if you have a challenge or a problem with your domain, you can call and talk to somebody on the phone. And there's not a lot of the domain providers out there that you can actually do that with. So we had a client recently that they had a change in ownership in the company, and nobody had the information on how to access their GoDaddy account, but the domain was on GoDaddy. So GoDaddy gave them means to provide additional information to show that they owned that domain, because it was their business name. Their business website was sitting on that domain. And so they were able to get access ultimately to that domain since it was on GoDaddy. So it's just much easier to do that. So I highly recommend doing domains on GoDaddy. So where you actually host your website, I think GoDaddy's trying to get better, but I've never been a fan of hosting in particular WordPress sites on GoDaddy. Our host of choice is called SiteGround, siteground.com, for hosting websites. So much better technical customer service on a site, on a platform like SiteGround than others. And of course, you can connect that domain from GoDaddy over to SiteGround to destroy your website. If you're using GoDaddy's, you know, website builder, then that's going to be on GoDaddy, and that's fine. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. Let's see. What would you consider the most important content on a website that should be within those 3 clicks? This is from Elizabeth, and she says her business is home organizing specifically.
Again, go back to your strategy. Who's your target market as a home organizer? So there's a lot of categories that you can kind of be in for home organizing. So who's really the client that you want to work with? So you're going to have something there that helps them with that. And then the thing you have to consider is, how do you help them make a decision if they should work with you or not? So is there a few questions that they can answer? Is there a form they can fill out that will help them know that you're the right organizer for them? So anything you can do to provide some decision making. So on your homepage, you could have 3 key things, right? It could be, you know, how to work with a home organizer, for how to choose the right home organizer. You can have your FAQs, you know, learn the most frequently asked questions that people ask me about working with a home organizer. Here they are. And they can go to page to see that. I think a video on your homepage that says, you know, this is who I am, this is what I do, these are the people that I've helped, these are the results that I've gotten, and I would love to talk to you about your home organizing project. Because it's a very personal thing. So the more you can engage them in that way more personally, so they can get to see who you are and get to know you a little bit, it's going to help them move forward to the next step, because they're like, oh, I really like this person. I really want to engage with them. And a video of you doing that should do two things. It should attract the people that want to work with you, and it should repel the people that aren't going to be good clients for you, right? It should do both. So those would be some of my recommendations for a home organizer.
Ads on Google, are they worth it? Says Linda.
Yeah, great question. If you manage it well, they can be great. Again, it depends on the segments that you're in. The difference between running ads on Google and running ads on Facebook is this. Running ads on Google, when I'm searching on Google, I'm trying to solve a problem now. Like, I want to do something to take action. So if your product or service helps solve a problem right away, like you're a plumber and I've got a drain, you know, that's clogged, and I'm searching Google, I'm trying to find somebody to come fix this now. Like, I don't want to wait. Where running an ad on social, it's going to be different. I may not be running the same type of ad on my Facebook page as a plumber as that, because people are there socializing. They're not there looking to solve a problem right now. So again, you have to look at what's your competition, who else is advertising there. Can you write compelling ads? When they come to your website, is the information compelling enough that they want to take the next step? So it can be worth it. Again, it takes work. You got to look at the whole picture of what's the problem the prospect has, what's the search they're going to do to get there, and then how is my content geared to help them take the next step and to move forward, to make a phone call, to fill out a form, to take some kind of action with it. So totally can be worth it though.
All right. Thanks for addressing these, by the way. Sam wants to know, is there any business that doesn't need SEO?
Well, again, SEO for me comes in different categories. So if you're a local brick and mortar business or a local service company, your most basic SEO is going to be your Google My Business page, getting reviews, posting content, pictures, and everything on your Google My Business page. You may not need to do a huge amount of work on your website. You should have the basics on your website. So have, you know, the 5 to 7 pages that we talk about here, having, you know, you know, it loads fast, SSL, all that stuff's in place. It's mobile responsive. Do you need to post a blog every single week? Not really. You know, again, if it's something that your competition doesn't really do, but you've got great reviews profile and you've got more reviews than your competition, you probably don't need to spend a lot of time over SEOing your website and posting a lot of content. So again, a little bit of that is what's happening with my competition, what are they doing, and then you can really get a better idea of what you need to be doing in order to rank things. But for local business, like I think most of us are that are on today, you know, your Google My Business page is a super high priority on building out your reviews there and the content that you have there, and then at least having the very basics of your website in place. Hopefully that answers that.
I think so. Hey, Crystal has a great question. Can you provide a few websites to preview? Any clients or someone who's doing a great job that we can send people to if they want to take a look?
Let's see.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. We can also email some suggestions later.
Yeah, let me pick out a few that I think might be great for that.
Okay. Couple more here. Linda wants to know, how do you see how your website ranks on Google search?
To really get an idea of how it ranks, here's what I would do. If you want it, this is something I can show you. So if you're using Google Chrome, what you can do is go to new incognito window. And if you want to get an idea of where you rank, again, if you're in your business, so a lot of this is driven by distance, how far you are from the business. So that distance does matter. But we work with a lot of clients in assisted living. So let's do assisted living, Littleton. So in incognito mode, I can get a better idea. So these first four things here are ads. So you can see clearly those are ads. And then here's your Google My Business. So remember I said what most people are going to see is this 3-pack first. They're going to see that. And then you see exactly how that search based on my location, where everybody comes up. So this is a super competitive space. So you can see here, caring.com, that's a big national website. Seniorhousing.net is a big national website. Balfour Care is a pretty good size local business. So is Morningstar Senior Living. Gardens and Columbines, a location there in Littleton. So their websites rank pretty well. So I can tell you that for that search, caring.com ranks #1 right now. Also based on my location, how far away I am. And you can see these others are, so we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These two are actually clients of ours, 8, 9, so they're at least on page 1. Then Brookdale is number 10. So you can at least get an idea based on some distance where you are, and you could do this from different places to see what comes up. Now, if I was doing this on the phone, the search results might be a little bit different because Google actually indexes desktop versions and indexes mobile versions separately. But if you go in incognito mode and do a category search, you're going to get a better idea of how you're coming up in the results in terms of ranking for a particular type of search term. And then there's a handful of tools out there that you can invest money into. They're not cheap to really get a better idea of where you rank and all that. So one good website, if you just really want to nerd out on SEO stuff, is moz.com. So they've got some basic software that helps you, really look at that and how you're ranking and do that. So but we have a couple different tools that we use. So hopefully that's helpful.
For sure. Last question is from Tammy. She says, do you have any opinions on Shopify websites and how they interact with the SEOs?
Yeah, Shopify is a great platform. I really like the Shopify platform. You can do all the SEO stuff you need to do. In particular, obviously, if you're doing e-commerce, it's a great place to get started doing e-commerce. It's so much easier to get set up on a Shopify store and start doing, actual, selling stuff online to do that. So yeah, I think Shopify is a great platform.
Well, I agree. Thank you so much for coming on today and putting together all this content. It's been fantastic. Thanks to our audience, especially for those of you who are able to stick it out to the end. Really, really appreciate your attendance. Couple notes, as I mentioned a few times, we did record this webinar, and I will cut that video, edit it down, and send you a link by email today. I'll also include links to Peter's website, dmdude.com, and to the North Metro SBDC.com. And in addition to everything, we want to say one more big thank you to the Brighton Economic Development and the Brighton Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this webinar today. So thank you so much for coming out, and thanks again, Peter. This was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate it. Great job.
All right, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody, and have a great afternoon.